Star Wars Rebels Episode 11 Call to Action. Definitely a great episode. We got, you know, Grand Moff Tarkin in this episode. We had a really cool opening, which really, I don't know if it was that, if it was like super epic or it was just the fact that they did, the Darth Vader theme. But I was so excited. I was like, there's no way they're doing Darth Vader in this episode. I was super excited for it. You know, they did it like the movies. They have like, a Star Destroyer coming in. They got TIE fighters as like little escorts for the other ship. I don't know the name of that one. But, they have all this stuff coming in. It's sort of the typical big bad guy entrance where it's like it's either, Darth Vader or the Emperor. Unfortunately, it was neither of those because I was super excited. I was like smiling and stuff like they might be doing Darth Vader. And then, I was like, oh, it's not Darth Vader. I was like, I know who that is, but it's not Darth Vader. So it wasn't like my expectations were like way up here, and then it was like, okay. But it was still a great episode. Tarkin was admittedly probably the most badass I've ever seen him, because it's like, other than this episode, I mean, he was in the Clone Wars. I barely remember him in that. And then it's like him in the movies is really not too much from the films because, stuff happens to him. But I enjoyed him in this episode. He was really cool as the villains, like the big bad who came in. He's kind of like, the third tier after the Emperor and Darth Vader. And it's actually cool because he was above the Inquisitor, and I think that's one of my favorite things about it, because typically speaking, it's like, whether it's the good guys or the bad guys in the Star Wars universe, it's like Jedi, whoever the Jedi Master is, and then whoever the Sith Lord is. It's kind of like that for both sides of the fence. And in this case, we got to see something a little bit different where, we have basically the only Sith Lord we've really seen in the entire series so far. He's under, Grand Moff Tarkin, and I thought that was really cool. And Tarkin, like, just the way he spoke to everyone, is like he came in, he was really demanding, and he was the one, like, he comes in this one episode, and that's when everything goes right for the Empire. And he's able to kind of confront everyone like, all we have to do is really be the powerful empire that we are, and we can trap these people. We can stop this guy who says he's a Jedi. And I actually love the fact that he was so doubtful. Like, I highly doubt that he's really a Jedi and this and that. And I thought that was actually pretty cool. And they unfortunately captured Kannan in the end. And I don't know where things are going to go from there. I don't know if we're going to get introduced to another set of characters who might kind of join the Rebels, kind of in and out in different episodes later on in the season, and, possibly the series in general. But it was definitely a great episode. We got, a couple cool action scenes, particularly the very end of it was where all the action was. But even without that, like, just seeing these characters basically have this fear, like, you have your tiers, whether it's the good side or bad side, and typically speaking, when you're working for the bad guys, when you work in certain tiers, you see certain stuff go down. And in this episode, obviously it's on Disney, so we didn't see it happen, but the Inquisitor basically chopped two people in half. Like, they failed their mission. Basically it was like, well, I'm disappointed in this, and the Inquisitor kind of knew what was happening. And those guys got chopped in half while just sitting in their chairs. Honestly, the only thing I could think of was who's cleaning up these dead bodies. Like, he chop these people in half. I initially thought it was going to be simple, which we've seen this a ton of times, and mostly in Clone Wars, because they haven't been able to show it too much in this. But we've seen it where, people get stabbed in the back with lightsabers all the time. That's probably the most common and really most visceral thing we really get out of, like, the Star Wars TV shows, where someone gets stabbed in the back or something, and then, like, okay, that's about as brutal as they can get. And it was interesting, because that's what I was thinking. Like, okay, they failed. You bring in, like, the big bad guy who is tired of everyone screwing up. You have, like, the Inquisitor, who he gives the line, like, it's too bad we don't have anyone equipped to take on a Jedi. I thought that was a really great line, and he's just looking right at him like, it's really too bad we don't have, someone who is literally, his whole purpose is created to stop this type of person. That's too bad. It's too bad, because we probably, be winning and stuff. But them, like, killing the guys off the way they did, I thought was definitely pretty cool. And we even got to see the faces of the other two people, Callus and the woman, I can't ever think of her name. It's something more Star Wars based. It's not just like Callus, which is easy to remember for me. But we got to see their expressions because they didn't exactly see that coming, where these guys are just going to get, like, halved basically by a lightsaber. And I enjoyed it. I thought it was really cool. It was very dark for the series, but it was really Star Wars. It was very serious because as light as the movies can be, they also have that very, very dark side. And we don't get to see that too much in the television shows because they're either on stuff like Cartoon Network or, Disney Channel. So it's a bit of a balance, but when they hit those dark peaks, it's definitely really cool because that's what the dark side is. Like, in the Star Wars universe, as light as it is for the films, it can get, darker than a lot of people might realize in the books and things like that. So it's cool when they always hit those little dark peaks in the series, and we get to see that really crazy stuff happen, and we definitely got it in this episode. Definitely love the fact that Kannan was captured at the end. It was definitely a nice little twist. It breaks the team apart, and also it splits up, of course, the two Jedi of the group. We have Kannan, who's the master, and then Ezra the apprentice, who is now without his master. He has to go and find, where his master is being held, and he's going to have to learn to train himself. At least, I think they might do it for maybe 2 or 3 episodes. I'm sure they won't be able to just go in and, they rescue him in the next episode. But whatever they end up doing, it should be really interesting to watch Ezra try to practice on his own, because he's learning from a guy who, even in this episode, he mentions, like, I guess we're kind of just learning things together. When you learn from someone in that regard, it makes it even harder to learn, by yourself, I think. So it'll be interesting to see Ezra pick things up for himself and say, like, all right, I have to train this skill or that skill, or I have to basically, learn brand new skills, and I think this might help, so I should probably just find a way to learn it. So I'm excited to see how that stuff plays out. Also, the team in general, losing one of their members should be really cool. It should be interesting to see how that takes place and how the dynamic of the team really shifts, and kind of like who the plans all go to, because Kannan was kind of like the ground plan, and then Hera, of course, being the pilot, she's the one who's like the drop-off point and, pick-up point. It's kind of her. So, the kind of the ground game is going to be very different for, however long they have Kannan separated from the team. And I'm excited to see how that plays out, and how I have to assume it's going to cause them to kind of butt heads at some point, where someone wants to take over for, Kannan while he's missing for a couple episodes. Like, I have the ideas, I'm going to do the ground game, and then someone else will come in, and, that's kind of how things go when the leaders, sort of disappear for a little while. So I'm excited to see how that plays out as well, and the team having to go on these separate missions, because they won't just instantly be able to go get Kannan back. They're going to have these couple of missions like previous episodes where they're just going to be doing their thing, and it's not really going to be the same without Kannan. So I'm excited for that. Excited to see what story elements we get with Kannan by himself, possibly some more history on his character, maybe who his master really was, and his experience with, like, Order 66 when the Jedi were killed off, because Grand Moff Tarkin, he knows, he was with the Jedi and stuff, and he saw what happened. He was around when Order 66 was initiated, so they might have some things to talk about, and we might get some pretty cool dialogue out of that, and maybe even some flashbacks or something with Kannan younger, when he was really learning to be a Jedi. And I would love to see that. Like I said, I'm just obviously speculating on this, but I would love to see that. And it's really the perfect set of characters. Like, you have this guy who was with the Jedi and training to be a Jedi Master, and then this guy who knew the Jedi and knew Jedi Master, and, was with the Empire. So, of course, once Order 66 came around, he watched all these people get killed off, and he can kind of mess with Kannan in that way. Like, I knew these people, I knew that person. Television rules say that he will, of course, know Kanan's master. I have to assume that. But I can't wait to see how they do this. It's definitely a nice jump for the series. I've loved it up until, now. But, it'll be cool to see a shift in dynamics. I mean, they lost one of the big characters. So, Kanan's going to be off and have his own storyline now. The rest of the team is going to be doing their thing, trying to find Kannan, and of course they put out the message in this episode, which was the main point. I'm kind of skipping over all that, but that was definitely a great part. And of course, the way the episode ended, we didn't get to really see its huge impact, but of course we will in these next couple of episodes, and I cannot wait to see what characters come in, and it might really be that pushing force for the Rebel Alliance, because that's kind of the big thing. Like, these guys are the rebels. The Rebel Alliance doesn't particularly exist at this point, and they could be the start of the Rebel Alliance, and I would love to see things start to kick up, and they kind of bring in some other characters who, of course, are very important and very crucial to starting up the Rebel Alliance. So I'm excited to see how that plays out, and what characters they bring in from the stories, or just new characters in general that kind of get inspired by this message, and how the cities and all the different systems, because they reach multiple systems. We really only saw Lothal, so that's fine. I wouldn't expect them to just show random place number 2 and 8 and stuff like that, so that's fine. But I'm really excited to see how this message getting out does affect the city, and how it affects all the different planets that they reached, and what the other planets might be, because who knows, there might be some places where it's like straight up tyranny from the Empire compared to Lothal, which is bad, but it's really kind of half and half. It's like, if you work with the Empire, or really if you do what they say, then things seem to work out fine on Lothal. But there could easily be other planets that we haven't gotten to see yet, where the Empire is just like, you guys have maybe resources or something, and we're just going to sap these resources as much as we want, and you can't do anything about it. So I don't know which planets we're going to get to see that have been affected by this, but I'm very excited for how this episode ended, and really just all the different possibilities. I mean, we have the message, we have the team being split up, so we have Kanan's storyline separately now. The team working without Kannan is going to be its own storyline for a little while. And then even within the team working by itself, we have Ezra by himself, trying to figure out, how do I find my master? He'll probably, try to connect more with the Force to locate Kannan and stuff. And I'm just really excited for it. And we also had some great bonding moments between Kannan and Ezra in this episode. And I think that was kind of the big point, like, to have these really amazing moments between the characters, and then have them, torn apart by the end. And it was definitely great. Ezra using the skill that Kannan taught him with the little creature to take out the robot was definitely cool. The part where Ezra kind of freaks out a little about their mission, because it's like, that's kind of how he lost his parents, and he doesn't want to lose this new family. I thought that was a great scene. I honestly thought if this was any other episode, that's exactly how it would have ended, because they had the music swelling up and everything. It ended with, like, Kannan and Ezra standing facing away from the camera, basically looking out onto, like, a sunset in the field. I was like, if this was any other episode, that would have been, like, the perfect ending, and it could have just cut right there, and it would have been great. And even that was, I think, the middle of the episode, so it was definitely a great episode. Of course, I want to know what you guys thought about this one, so please comment below, let me know your favorite parts, your least favorite parts, and what do you guys want to see from this giant split. I think the thing I'm most excited to see, and obviously with it being all speculation, it may or may not happen, but what I really do want to see is Kannan and Tarkin really talking about the history and talking about Order 66, because I would love to learn exactly what happened with Kannan, and how he experienced really losing his Jedi Master, losing all the Jedi in general, and then having to go on the run. I would love to see how that took place in his world, because, we haven't really had that. I'm sure it's in novels somewhere, but we have not really had that in either of the TV shows. The Clone Wars was actually the Clone Wars. We had, like, the movies, which was just like, poof, Order 66, and then leading into the original trilogy. But we haven't had that in between, where it's like, here's one person's storyline, and this is what happened to them during Order 66, and we kind of see, we were at like 12 or 13, or however you want to count the episodes. We're so many episodes in, and we still don't really have too much on Ezra's past. Like, we have the cube thing from, I believe it was the first or second episode, and that's really it. And his experience, he lost his Jedi Master, he knew Master Yoda, and just little bits, pieces here and there. But I would love it if we got some real serious flashbacks, even if it was like 5 minutes long, just like, this is what happened to me during Order 66. That's what I personally want. But I want to know what you guys want to see see result from this giant split in, the team and all these new dynamics that were introduced in this episode. So please comment below, let me know, and thanks for watching.